his nose looks a little different. He broke his nose in practice on Saturday. I think he'll be okay. I think that might be his third time he cracked that thing. So hopefully he'll be all right. But London is a player that is, when he got here, he had tremendous feel, and it was instantaneous when he was on the floor. I think we inserted him, if I'm not mistaken, into the lineup after the Tennessee game. He just steadied everything. He had such quality players around him with Joe and Malcolm and Justin, and then the very good forwards. But he brought such a nice feel and pace to the game, made big plays at big times, made big shots, and I thought showed the remarkable poise for a first year in a lot of big games, nice settings. And I think every year he's just progressed his game, never sacrificing how he plays. That's the one thing everybody wants him to, be more aggressive and shoot a lot more, and especially this year. And I think he has done that each year, and I think he'll need to do that this year some more. Sometimes, maybe let whoever it is bring the ball up, come off screens, but he has a very good feel for the game and command of the game, and recognizes what needs to be done, when the ball needs to go in the post, the shots to be taken. So I like that. I've seen him get stronger and more physical athletically. I've just seen his game tighten up and improve as you hope to see every year. Defensively, I will really challenge him to be able to meet the ball spread out, or if he's got to guard guys moving off screens. I think he's improved at that, but that's something that is never natural for anybody, and that will be a continued effort for sure. But I just like where he came in, was at a high level, and then I think he has progressed. And, this year, I'm not going to say he's going to be the marked man always, but, it's always a little different when defenses will gear themselves to stop you. And so I think he's worked hard at trying to develop some things to be as ready as he can for that. But again, he doesn't seem to lose often who he is as a player and how he needs to play. And I think that's one of his best qualities, without a doubt.
Tony, no disrespect to coaching, but often a team's level that they attain has a lot to do with the leadership in the locker room and the players. And obviously London, I'm sure you would look to be one of those guys, but is he a vocal guy like that? And who are the other people that you expect would be the real leaders who speak up when somebody needs to say something?
Yeah, we've talked about a coach-led team can be good, but a player-led team can be really good or touch greatness. London, similar to Malcolm. Malcolm wasn't real vocal, and then last year he took a step. He did it more by his intensity and his actions and how hard he worked. London, I've seen him reaching out more, trying to talk and be assertive and be competitive, but it will be a group thing without a doubt. I think Isaiah Wilkins has some natural. He's really engaged. He's really vocal. I see that in him. I see that in Devon Hall, the ability to talk, to try to get things right. I see it in Jack. I see it in Marielle. I think those guys have some natural leadership where their voice will be loud, and they'll hold other players accountable or encourage, both and I think it'll have to be a group situation.
Tony, you've known Austin Nichols obviously for a while now, from recruiting him out of high school. You saw him then in that NCAA tournament game in 2014, and obviously with the transfer situation. What is it like to finally have him here and have him be able to participate? And then during the season, what do you think your expectations are for him? Yeah,
it's for sure. I've known Austin a while, and we recruited him hard out of high school. And when you're in your redshirt year, it's so different than, all right, now he's able to play, he's eligible, and the way you look at him, the way you try to dissect his game and challenge him and push him more, it just really changes. And I've enjoyed that because, of course, he has a nice upside. He does some things from a talent standpoint that are terrific, and I think he could be an important piece for this year. He has offensive left-hand, right-hand skills and abilities. The year, I want to say off, the redshirt year has improved his body. He's worked hard on, the different things. We've had good success with that with other players. And I think his ability to score on the around the lane, off the lane a little bit is going to be needed for us. And he has the ability to block shots. Where, again, as I mentioned, where you really have to be able to when it gets into a game is not be a factor defensively and do what we do. It's a real continuous approach we have defensively. You know, you're helping on a screen, you're back, you got to find the ball. There's just a lot of things going on. You can't be a step behind or reactive for us to be at our best defensively, and that is the biggest adjustment for all of the new guys, the incoming first years, the first years now, and then even at the guys that didn't play competitively. So that's how I look at those guys when we're in practice and we're going, you know, and that's probably the step he's got to take. But certainly so glad to have him, and you know, he will be needed in terms of what we're having to replace.
What was maybe his biggest step that he took during that redshirt year?
I think they always take a big step because I can work with Coach Curtis a lot. Worked hard on improving his shots, shooting a lot of free throws, and just being aggressive and little incremental improvements in all areas of his game. I don't know if there's anything that just jumped out, but I think he got himself. He understands the intensity level and what it'll take now, and now it's about executing it.
Tony, you mentioned the advanced feel for the game that London had as a freshman. In talking to people around Ty Jerome, you hear similar sentiments. Have you noticed that of him, and what have your impressions of him been?
Yeah, that's what I think our staff was really drawn to in Ty when you watched him. Wasn't real highly touted, but this was early on, but he had a similar kind of feel with the ball, how he sees things, how the game slows down, his ability to pass and just understand. And he absolutely has shown that a lot of times, and that's exciting because he's got good size, and that would be his strength. And similar to London, that feel for the game and understanding what needs to be done. So definitely at times it's been there, and you could see. I don't know if someone coaches that into someone or they're born with that, but it's a natural thing for sure.
Small ball lineups are becoming increasingly common in the college game. Does that make it difficult for you to use Jack in those situations, and what role do you envision for him on this team? Yeah,
Jack's improved, although he's nursing. He strained his hamstring, so he hasn't been able to practice as much as we would have liked, but he's coming around. I'll say this. What I'm excited about is every single returning player, and I can speak to them because I watched them last year in practice and in games, have improved. They've worked very hard and they've improved their individual game. They've worked on it, their time in the weight room. So I'm excited about that. Jack certainly did. Spain wasn't the best competition, but we saw some things from him, and he's so tough and so rugged. So I like his improvement. And their question about, matchup-wise, matchups are always important. Who you can guard, can they guard you? Who would their five-man be? I mean, I'm not going to put if it's a five-man that's really good, stretching it, shooting the three, and can beat you off the bounce is more like a five-guard lineup. Well, then you obviously have to look at that. But you also have some advantages on the other end. So that's what it would come down to. But when he's been healthy, he's made, as I said, all those guys have, but I like what I've seen up to this point in Jack, and he's he's a sophomore, he's in his second year, but has 3 years with his redshirt year, and I think that's helped him. But one of our definitely toughest, most rugged players that we've had here in quite a while.
Tony, saw where obviously the photo London posted. You said that produced some positive dialogue between you and your team. Can you kind of expand a little more on that, and what
Sure.
has that been like with the Charlottesville Police Department, things of that nature?
Yeah, no, once I knew I think we did. There was already an article on it, but once I knew their intentions, and we sat down with them, it was positive. We had Police Chief Thomas come in, and the Vice Mayor Wes Bellamy came in. They came in together and talked to our guys, and it was just about continuing to educate them. And as I said, their desire was all about awareness. And it wasn't, I think, yes, there was some positive to it, and there were obviously people who didn't quite understand and assume some things, but it was in no way to disrespect. So many of them have family members that have served in the military or in the police department. It was not to disrespect the military, the police, the flag. We're going to stand at attention during the national anthem. There's no plans of anything that way. It was just to raise awareness. And then all right, let's come together and do something positive. And then by the ability to bring two people like that in, that was, to me, it wasn't lost on me, because you had the police chief and as someone in our community in Wes who's a good man, but obviously they differ on some things. And they stood in front of us and said, this is bigger than differences. It's coming together. It's respecting people. Be educated, young men. Do something positive. Live your life the right way. And it was an interaction of talking. And those are things that probably wouldn't have happened before. But that I really respected both of those men coming in, sharing, and the dialogue that took place between our student athletes, our guys, and them, and then just, understanding that and then trying to make a difference. So that's the stuff that has come of it. And we talk a lot about our guys. They say unity is something that's important to us. We talked about that. I said, you're going to get asked by media day, some of you, I'm sure, about this, and how are you going to respond? And their thing was, this was about, these pillars are preached to us, and unity is so important to us. And we talked about wanting to do something unified, and again, promote a positive message. And obviously there's an education piece of it, but that's the things that I think have come of it, and will continue to come of it for sure.
Tony, can you talk about your
Like your
expectations?
shirt, Jerry. That's nice.
Thank you, sir. Can you talk about your expectations for the freshman class, how you hope to blend them in,
Yeah.
and will you have to rely on those guys, particularly down the stretch?
Right. That's a process. That's what I mentioned to Jeff. I think every returner I can clearly has improved. I can see it. They're just better in different areas in their game. I can't say that about the first years because I don't have experience with them in a game setting. I can see they've gotten a little stronger and they're getting used to things. They're swimming right now a little bit, with the intensity, the volume of work, how we're trying to be really execution oriented and be demanding. And there's a lot of slippage you see, but as I said before, the promise is there. Physically, none of them are real physically developed, and I think that is a big factor. Like, I think their skill set is there. They have the feel and those things, but the physical piece is an important piece. And I see when they can adjust to that, the sooner they can adjust to that and do less thinking and more playing and relying on their abilities, I think they're going to really improve. And there's no shortcut to that. They have to think right now to understand it. And it's going to look at times crude, which they all have. There's going to be those flashes where they look really good. When it comes down to them, when they can contribute, I don't know how many of them. I think we're going to need some help from all of them at some point. But I don't know when that is. And I think it's interesting. We have London returning, and then the other guys that are returning, Isaiah has been a terrific role guy for us. The other guys were a little more spot minutes. Devon started, but they're going to have to take on different roles. But there's those, Darius, Devon, Mariel, and then London is the one kind of main guy coming back. The rest are all new. Jack and Jared pretty new with all the other guys. So there's an interesting dynamic that we're trying to speed the process up, and the schedule will certainly reveal a lot of things that we can't hide. And the young guys, I can see that it's like I see all the time with first years. And I sometimes go over to the older guys, say, you remember? I'll lean over to Mariel or Devon or those guys, say, you remember when you were walking this first time? They're like, they just smile. They say, it's a lot, coach. It's on you. So, and our practices have been real competitive. But absolutely, am I excited about them? For sure. And it's just a matter of getting used to the physicality, thinking less. And then we find out as we get into some of these scrimmages and situations who can be part of it. I mean, I'm not going to have a 13-man rotation. I know that. I'm not going to do what I did in Spain is sit, for one game I'll sit Isaiah, London, you guys sit out, and then we'll play hockey shifts, 5 minutes, 5 guys going. I don't think that'll work. And so they all like me right now. But no, it really is important because there's a process, and these guys, they have a chance to be good in time for sure. But that's the key. It's a process.
Tony, last year looking at the roster, we knew who the top two scorers were going to be. 32 points gone. And, with all these high number freshmen coming in and nobody who's ever really kind of carried the mail in that way, how do you anticipate it kind of breaking out? I mean, Austin, there's obviously a lot of anticipation for what Austin can do, but he's not done it at this level.
Right.
So how do you kind of see that working out?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what I'm wondering as we watch. It is that's part of the resetting, and it's exciting. We're going to see some of these young guys grow up before our very eyes over the course of their careers. But in the immediate and the now, there's some big questions to be answered. If you compared our team at this stage this year, we're doing things that we haven't had to do before. We're not at the same place, but there's definitely talent and there's promise. But that will be when you look at what you have to replace. And even Evan Nolte, I talk about Evan. Evan played in big games and had that experience and his feel and understanding. But then the scoring of Mike and Anthony, and of course Malcolm, and the defensive side of things, the know-how, those are obviously, and we knew that. So it's going to be who can step up, and there's going to be opportunities for a number of guys, and we're going to have to find ways to be good defensively, to score, because you don't just replace those guys. We got the exact replica of Malcolm Brogdon or Anthony Gill. We don't. We have some different pieces, but those are challenges, real challenges. And I don't care what the preseason rankings are. That means nothing. I know where our team is. I know what they can become. But reality is we got a lot of work to do, and it's showing that in practice, but it's exciting.
You've spoken in the past about the success players have had after sitting out, most of them involuntary.
Right.
Anthony when he transferred, Darius when he transferred,
Yes.
Malcolm when he was hurt.
Mike Scott. Yep.
Mike Scott. Is there anybody you're contemplating that for this year? Jay Huff has been mentioned as a possibility in the past.
For a red shirt? Yeah, I think that I've told you this before, that's the player's decision always. I will suggest at the time after, I usually do it right before, obviously, you play the first game, because we have a blue-white scrimmage, we have the two, I always forget if I'm allowed to say who we're scrimmaging. I am? Okay, so we're scrimmaging. I can't, someone say no or not? I can't, okay. See? You're trying to get me in trouble, aren't you? I see how it doesn't matter. We're playing two quality opponents. Thank you. We're playing two quality. That's good. That's a guy who's always one step ahead of me. I didn't even know he was in the room, and he knew I'd screw that up. So he's like, I got to take care of Coach Bennett because he's going to get in trouble. Has everything else been okay? I've said, Ronnie, back there. Are we all right? Good. Two quality, high-level scrimmages. So that'll determine a lot in terms of how these guys look and then where they're at. And obviously you look at some things physically, but it will always be up to the player and his family and those that advise him. So here's what I suggest, but whatever you want to do, we go with it. That's too important of a decision. But of course I'll have an opinion and we'll talk about it, and that can change. I remember Paul Jesperson, we redshirted him, and then it was unbelievable, the injuries we had, and Paul said, I think I want to, I'd consider coming off. I think he missed, about 9 games? You weren't here, were you? So, but a good SID would know that. How many games? All right, so no, just kidding. No, he's the best. Yes. Jay Huff, he's shown me really can stretch the floor and shoot the 3-ball. All the stuff that we recruited these guys for, you're seeing it in flashes, but and has a competitive streak. He'll get a little ornery out there, whether it's an elbow or fighting for a rebound. He's put on probably almost 20 pounds, 25. There you go. Yes, a great one would know exactly how many. So he's put on 25 pounds. That's amazing. So and that's what we were hoping. But his ability to stretch it, shoot the 3-ball, and block shots. He's really a good shot blocker. Goes after everything. He's quick off the floor. Some of those showing on ball screens, the lateral side of things, obviously the strength piece are all there. But a nice future and a nice upside for sure. If they'll keep working and keep developing. That's always the caveat with that.
Coach, you already mentioned London has a broken nose. You got Jack that has apparently tweaked a hamstring. Where are you at otherwise in terms of health going into this? You guys always seem to have 1 or 2 random injuries in the preseason. What are your guys like now?
Otherwise, the guys have been fine. I mean, that was London's practice all preseason, and you never know. Ty's, he had the double hip surgery and missed half of his senior year of high school, and we're just trying to be real cautious and wise with guys that have trouble. But we practice real intense. The duration's a little longer to start, and then we shorten it. But we're always trying to be smart. The new rule is you get 30 practices in 40 days or 30 and 42. I bet you Ronnie knows that. Is he still sitting back there? 42. All right, 30 practices in 42 days. So it allows you from a practice standpoint, okay, you go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, real hard. Thursday off. Friday, Saturday hard. Sunday off. You do things like that I think before, when you always started the second Saturday in October and you had these practices and your first game was there, you're going 6 days in a row. You have to take one off. And I think this maybe can help. I like that rule. This has been in effect for a few years, but that's where it's at.
Tone in the back here. Your
Oh,
brother over here.
Dave.
Got to join in here. Hey, so is from your perspective, you've had so many veteran teams the last couple of years. What has it been like for you to have all this youth and kind of relearn what that's like?
Yeah, I think you sometimes take things for granted. Just little things that how you got to break some stuff down and simplicity with execution. We talk about it even with our veteran teams, but there is a learning curve and the ability to say, all right, you strip away a lot of the stuff that they're not ready for, and let's get to the basics. You know, we keep stats and practice, and our assist to turnover, you know, has been atrocious. It's been really bad, and we're not understanding how strong we have to be with the ball, how we have to value those things. Now that's just great. So what can I do to help them? So we have to make little tweaks in some of the drills we do, but even in parts of our offense to understand stuff that those guys understood it. You know, last year they've been through it. Okay, I know, Coach, I can catch and face, and I can pause and delay a little bit before I. So it's again a lot of the thinking, but there's a lot of balance, of course. I think our depth is a key. There's not a big drop off, but I think I have to encourage probably a little more, but also challenge. You know, it's just it's a different vibe for sure. But you see those flashes, you see that. And I look at the schedule and say, good, we're going to, in a way, good. I mean, it's probably as good it looks or better than last year, and we're at a different place with our team. So it's really going to show us some things. And my hope is this team is we just keep improving, just keep knocking, keep improving as this progresses.
Hi, Coach. You've mentioned – sorry, I'm back here. You've mentioned London a couple times offensively and also some other players. But with those players like Malcolm Brogdon and Anthony Gill being gone, do you see London picking up a lot of that offensive slack or some of those other players?
Yeah, I think every year London has improved in that regard, and certainly we'll look to him to be one of our guys. I think he has the green light as long as it's real good decisions to be aggressive. We want that without a doubt. And we'll need to find some scoring inside, outside. We lost a lot of free throws, guys that would draw fouls. That's a key thing that, you know, how many times Malcolm would draw fouls. I think we lost almost 70% of our free throw attempts or shooting. I have to look at that. But Anthony, Malcolm, and those guys. So, yeah, there's a bit of an unknown. You know, what guys that were more in roles of pieces or spot roles, okay, can they give us more? Can we just have more from, I think, a variety of people will be the key than one guy all of a sudden going, all right, he's going to average 24. It's got to be these guys that are playing have to give us more. Isaiah Wilkins has worked hard on his outside shot. I've challenged Jared with that. Jared Reuter, those things. Can they stretch their defense, become more consistent? Mariel, you know, you look at the guys who've returned, they understand it a little more, and then hopefully we have some pleasant surprises with some of the new guys.
Tony, you mentioned Devon Hall a couple times, one of your veterans coming back. How do you see his role expanding, if at all, and where has he improved?
Well, he started. We had a little bit of a rotation. You know, Mariel sometimes was starting early on, Darius, and then Devon sort of became the guy that started. Devon is just, you know, he's very physical, strong. I mentioned his leadership. He's worked really hard on his, you know, shooting the ball, just trying to improve in every area of his game. And I think he's an important guy because, again, that's a third year with 4 years of experience because of his redshirt year. So it's just every area is a little better. I don't know if any one thing jumps out, but he has a lot of experience from being in those starting lineups, games, hitting some big shots. The times he struggled, he can go back to those. And I see a real – I think – our players are eager because they know what they're having to replace. And I think a lot of people are saying, like, how are you going to – and fair question, but this is their time. This is the time. You become an upperclassman. And you don't get crazy and think, okay, I'm Malcolm Brogdon. Well, if Devon did that, that'd be a mistake. But he's smart. He's not gonna. But this is a time for me to help be part of leading this team, trying to continue to carry it on. And you work for these spots, and some of those guys now have to move their game up, maybe a little, maybe a lot, whatever. And a few of those doing it. That's what we're banking on.
You guys had a very clear, I guess, knowledge of what you wanted out of the non-conference schedule last year. How has those expectations about maybe what you learn about this team, how's that changed from last year, obviously with the new roster? And have you learned anything about how to manage the non-conference schedule in terms of resting guys or anything like that?
Well, if you look at our schedule, it's try to survive. I mean, the teams we're playing, it's just play well because there's uncertainty. It's every game is an opportunity. You don't know what games are important for which reasons, and it's just invaluable experience for every guy that's out there. So we all wanted to challenge ourselves with, get enough home games with one of the best schedules we could play. You just look at it on paper, and I believe, I don't know if it would be ranked higher than last year's. I guess you don't know until the season progresses, but it's a good one. And it's a lot of those are return games from last year. And we sat and talked to our guys, you want to play this kind of schedule, you got to be ready. So it's one of those. And I think it's, again, what a great opportunity to find out where we're at, prepare us heading into the ACC.
You have two guys, 6'11", checking your watch,
Just
like
making sure
President Bush during the debate.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes left, and I got to leave. No, just kidding.
Have you ever had this many quality big guys on a team? It just, maybe my memories, I'm missing a team, but 2 6'11s, 2 6'9s, 3 6'7s, and it all seems like they could play.
Yeah. You could make a case for any of our scholarship guys being able to find minutes on the floor. And that's challenging, but, that's depth if there's injuries or if, it makes practices competitive. But realistically, you're going to play a 9, 10-man rotation, 8, just depends how you look at it, how it's going. But, yeah, there is quality depth. And I've talked about that, Momney, athletic, quick, still new to the game, but shows great flashes. We talked about Jay Huff, but Jack's improved, Isaiah, Jared, Austin. Those are all of them, right? Those are 6 guys. Usually we'll play 4 guys for those spots, depending upon what teams do. If they go small ball, like Jeff mentioned, who can match up. I think we have a couple guys that can move their feet on the perimeter and maybe guard a 4-out team in there. But I like that. I like the versatility. Again, Mike and Anthony were proven scorers and could do some things, and that's why where do we get the scoring? I think those guys that have returned have improved. Jared has shown he can score some and pass. Austin has shown that, at Memphis, and you're certainly seeing things. Depending upon who you're playing, I think we have decent rim protection, and that's important for your defense. We've talked about that. Something breaks down, there's some guys, again, depending upon who, but can block some shots. And I like the passing of Jared. I like some of our interior passing. So I think those are 2 strengths of that group. The ability to pass, interior passing, find people, and then some rim protection. I mean, 3 very good shot blockers are Jay, Austin, and Momedy for sure. And and Jack, actually. And there's a new rule emphasis. I'm not sure how much. Well, I hope it'll be in effect because I think Jack's one of the best I've seen at it. I would call it the Mozgov rule, position of verticality or possession. Like a defender now, if someone comes in the lane, you can jump straight up as long as your line is vertical, straight up, and they should not call fouls. If you come down a lot, they'll call it, but that's if you remember, that's what he did. And I think Jack does a good job. He'll see a thing, and he goes up, and he's real vertical and real big and goes up. And so those are things that can, I think, hopefully help our defense if we're not quite as strong in certain areas. We're going to have to be better this year with our system defensively. I say this every year, but I mean it more every year, especially this year. We're going to have to run our offense probably cleaner to get shots out of our offense. And then defensively, we're going to have to be so good and sound in our system because we don't have quite the experience or the guys that can just, I'm going to bail us out and just lock this guy up. I don't care what else you do. I'll take the 1, 2, 3, or 4. Malcolm could do that. Or I'm going to go get a bucket. That remains to be seen. So I want our system to be tighter, and that's what we're working on. That was about a 3-minute answer. I think I'm good. So,
Can you do 2 more?
Yes, of course.
Richie McKay swooped in and hired away one of your top staffers in Vic Safura, but you
Richie's taking a
replaced
lot
it.
of the guys
Yes,
here.
he
Let's be
has.
honest. No,
Have you talked to
it's
Liberty
good.
about putting an end to that?
Yes,
But,
that's it. It's
you replaced him with a very experienced basketball man. What
Yes.
do you think Larry Mangino can
Right.
add to the staff? And are their skill sets similar, or have you kind of modified the position?
Yeah, no, this was an opportunity whenever there's someone, and you always are excited when one of your former Vic Safera was great for us. Now he gets to be on the road with good people at Liberty, with Richie, recruit, coach, do all that. But Larry Mangino was, an assistant coach in the NBA for 2 years with the Nuggets. Most recently, an assistant with SMU under Coach Doherty, assistant at Air Force with really good teams. His daughter was a manager in our program, Chelsea. He's watched a lot of our practices. Very good. That another set of eyes, a basketball experience, and a hard worker and a good man. Those are things I'm excited about. He's a lifer in the game. He's been a head coach at the Division III level. So all that, yeah, definitely. When you do that, we sort of shift some things around and talk about ways to help. But we're excited to get Larry and happy for Vic, of course.
The last time you had, I think, 4 true freshmen, you were working those guys in. It was also the last time you went to Spain, I think 4 years ago.
Yes.
A lot has happened in these last 4 years. Do you feel better where obviously you feel better probably where your program is right now, that you can handle kind of this youth and still be at the, still kind of meet expectations of what you've set for this program than maybe where you were 4 years ago when you had all this youth?
Yeah, that we try. That's by design when we have a large incoming class, or at least we try to do that because it is a chance to bond as a team and get some good practice time. All those positives we've talked about. That group, that was Justin and Evan and Mike, and Malcolm didn't practice in that. I'm trying to remember that group, but that was an important time, and I can't even remember the year we had. That was 4 years ago. We went to the elite or the 8. We were 1 game away from going to Madison Square Garden. That team developed over time. There was had some good players, of course, returning players, but yeah, that I think those are great experiences for a lot of reasons, and I think they do put you a little further ahead. You see things, even though we're still working on that, but I don't know what this year holds. I never know what any year holds. I always hope for the best. We prepare hard, but know that it's such a fight to be good. And I'll go back to my line you guys hear me say all the time. The margin for error for being a really good team and being just so or not really good, that's a fine line. And you just show up and you improve, and we've got good depth, we've got good heart. We're going to grow a lot, we're going to learn a lot, and I just want us to, like I said, whatever this team can become, whatever their max is, that's what we're pushing towards. And again, fun group to work with for sure, because I can see some of the things out in the future, but we live in the immediate, and that's what we're working on right now.